LLCs do not save you money on taxes, yet every legitimate business has a structure like an LLC. So do you actually need an LLC? Let's break down the top 5 reasons you need one and the top 5 reasons you don't, so you can decide for yourself. Let's start with the pros, then we're going to talk about the cons. Number 1. LLCs will protect and separate your assets. This means that you can't lose your personal car, house, or savings if your business gets sued. That's why it's called a limited liability company, because it limits your liability to that specific company. So if you have a nice house, a nice car, and a bunch of money in investments, and you're starting a new business and you think there might be a chance you get sued, whether it's from a customer or a supplier, it's a good idea to form an LLC so you can separate the two. But it also works in reverse. If you get sued personally from someone that comes over to your house and falls down and breaks their back, your business assets aren't up for grabs. And that's one of the main reasons people form LLCs, to keep their assets separate and protected so they can't lose everything from one catastrophic event. Number 2, LLCs will increase your credibility and legitimacy. Having an LLC looks more legit. Vendors, suppliers, Amazon attorneys, banks, they all won't take you seriously until you've gone through the steps to officially form a company. Plus, a lot of their stuff is set up to only work with LLCs, not individuals. For example, when you go to start an Amazon Seller Central account to sell your items on Amazon, they're going to ask you for your LLC paperwork and your EIN paperwork. They're also going to ask you for a business bank account, and you can't set those things up unless you are an LLC that's legitimate. Oftentimes, shipping companies and vendors will only want to do business with your company, not with you as an individual. So if you're serious, you'll ultimately get to a point where you need an LLC to prove credibility and legitimacy. Number 3, LLCs don't give tax breaks, but LLCs taxed as S-Corps do. Let's talk about that. Remember how I said LLCs don't affect your taxes? It's because they don't. Just forming an LLC isn't going to save you money on taxes, and it's not going to allow you to write off any additional expenses. LLCs are viewed as an extension of the owner. So if your LLC makes $10,000 in profit, you made $10,000 in profit, and you're still going to have to pay the taxes on the money your business made in profit, regardless of whether or not you leave it in the business or pay yourself with it. Opening an LLC is kind of like adding a pocket to your pants. The IRS is going to tax you on all the money in your pockets regardless of what pocket it's in. However, once you reach $100,000 a year in profit, you can alter the tax classification of your LLC and change it to S-Corp. This will save you money on taxes, and you cannot make that change unless you're already established as an LLC. People cannot become S-Corps. Only LLCs and corporations can become taxed as an S-Corp to save money on taxes. But all that setup and red tape isn't worth it until you're making about $100,000 a year in profit. That's the number where it starts to make financial sense. That's the number where it starts to save you money. In fact, it'll probably save you about $15,000 a year in taxes at that level. Plus, an S-Corp is the only way you can be on payroll of your own LLC. Regular LLCs can't put the owners of the LLC on payroll. It's not allowed. So if you're serious and you're in it for the long haul and you intend to make more than $100,000 a year, setting up an LLC now so you can shift into an LLC taxed as an S-Corp later is a great way to save money on taxes. But you won't save any money on taxes with a regular LLC before making the swap to S-Corp. Number 4. LLCs separate your money and keep things simple. This has to do with operational simplicity and separating out your finances. When you form an LLC, you have to get an EIN, which is an employer identification number. It's like a social security number for your business. Then you take your LLC paperwork and your EIN paperwork and you use it to open up a business bank account. Oftentimes you can do this in one step with a company like ZenBusiness. The reason this is important is because it helps you stay organized. When you have a separate structure and a business bank account for your business that's separate from your personal bank account, it just makes life so much easier. You spend business money on business expenses and you spend personal money on personal expenses. And if you need to pay yourself, you simply transfer the money from your business bank account to your personal checking account. And then you can spend it on things like your mortgage and food and childcare. If you don't have an LLC, your finances will be all mixed together and it's going to be very difficult to tell what a business expense is and what a personal expense is, which will make way more work for you come tax time. So if you want to keep things simple and separate out your finances, an LLC is a great way to go. In fact, I highly recommend it, and this is probably my biggest reason for forming an LLC. The fifth and final reason has to do with flexibility, specifically around ownership and paying people. When you form an LLC, you can pay anyone any amount. You can add partners to your LLC by simply updating your operating agreement. You can even remove members by updating your operating agreement and stopping paying them. An LLC is by far the simplest and easiest business structure to alter or change or send payments. I'm not kidding, it's really simple. Oftentimes, it can be as easy as writing a check or making a bank transfer. You can even change the tax status of your LLC into S-Corp like we talked earlier, or even C-Corp. So if you decide you want to change up the way your business is structured, you can absolutely do that later on. LLCs are super flexible and I love them for that. Now, before we talk about some of the reasons why you might not need an LLC, let's talk about where you can go to get this entire process completed in less than 20 minutes. I personally am a huge fan of ZenBusiness. They've helped over 850,000 people get set up with LLCs and even business bank accounts. They have all the legal documents you're ever going to need, plus they have access to professionals, CPAs, accountants, and even bookkeepers. Plus, once you finish your paperwork, they're going to save all of it for you on a super easy to access dashboard. People ask me about LLCs all the time, and every time I recommend they use ZenBusiness to get it all set up. Why? Because it's really fast, it's really easy, and it's really simple. This paperwork can be complicated and confusing, and when people like ZenBusiness make it easier, it saves us time, and time is money. So if you're ready to form your LLC, click the link in the description below, go to ZenBusiness, answer all the questions, get it done, and then come back to this video and comment that you got your LLC because of the video. I will see it and throw some love at you, because this is a big step, and I don't want to make it harder than it needs to be. A link to ZenBusiness can be found in the top of the description of this video. Now, let's talk about some of the reasons you might not need an LLC, starting with number one. If you're still testing or experimenting with different business ideas or business models or side hustles, you might not need an LLC. I recommend to all my students to open an LLC, get an EIN, and open a business bank account when they're ready to make a sale. If you're still trying to figure out what you're going to do or what you're going to sell, you might not want to invest into setting up a company until you're certain that you have a clear path to go down. For a lot of us, we need to work out the kinks and figure out how to produce stuff or figure out what a winning product is, and that's totally okay. Experiment with it. Test ideas, get feedback from real people, and when you're ready to make a sale, list your product on Amazon or build a website and launch your product, get it set up then. Here, let me give you a clear way to figure this out to make things easier. If you have an idea or an invention, get on social media on your own personal account and start making videos about what you're doing. Put out a video a day, and in the top of your profile, have a link to a Google form where people can sign up with their email and name. Make videos about your stuff. Document your journey, show them what you're working on, and encourage them to put their name on the email list linked in your profile. This is a great way to validate ideas, and once you have 1,000 people on your email list, you have proof that there are people that actually want what you're building. Once you have that email list, you can go get the LLC, get the EIN, open up a business bank account, and start making sales with that new business bank account to the people on that email list. It's as simple as sending them an email when you go live on Amazon or your website and emailing them a link to make a purchase. Reason number two, if this is a one-person hobby or a side hustle. Now, if you're a 3D printer or a woodworker and you're occasionally selling something here and there, but you don't make sales often, or it's more of a side hustle or a hobby for you, then you might not need an LLC. It's totally okay to earn money as a person, but if the stakes are low and it's not more than $10,000 a year, you probably don't need to form an LLC and separate out all your assets and get a separate business bank account. You can just keep going. But if the business is growing and you intend to grow it, you might want to do it now while it's easier. However, if you plan on keeping this as a hobby or you don't want to turn this into a business, then you totally don't need an LLC. Just keep doing what you're doing and everything will be okay. But when you start growing, I want you to consider it. Number three, costs and annual maintenance. Let's talk about costs and annual maintenance, because if your side hustle isn't making enough money to cover the cost of maintaining an LLC, it might not be a good idea. For example, it's going to cost you a few $100s to get everything set up. Now, of course, that's a one-time fee, but sometimes a few $100s can be a lot. In addition, certain states like California will charge you yearly just for having an LLC open. California's yearly LLC fee is $800, and that's the minimum they charge you. They'll charge you more if you make more money. So if your hobby or your business isn't making enough to cover those costs, then it's probably not the time to form an LLC. You can keep this as a side hustle or wait until the business grows more before investing in the structure of a limited liability company. Number 4, complications for startups, investors, or raising capital. If you're looking for investors or raising capital or engaging in a startup that's not going to make any money for a couple of years until you make a lot of money, then an LLC is probably not the way to go. For example, investors prefer to put their money into C corporations where they can be issued shares of stock for that investment. LLCs don't issue stock. They issue percentages of ownership. So if you've got more than a handful of investors, it can get a little weird and difficult to manage by issuing shares of ownership, especially when it comes to dilution and multiple rounds of funding. So if you're a startup in the tech space or you're looking to get investors or raise money, you're going to want to open up a corporation taxed as a C Corp. This way you can abide by all the guidelines and take care of the taxes separately and make sure that your investors are happy with their situation. Just be wary of C corporations. C corporations pay their own taxes at the corporate tax rate, which is anywhere from 15 to 40%. So if you form a C Corp for any other reason than taking on investors, you will be double taxed. That means the business will pay taxes on what it earns in profit, and you will pay taxes on what you earn in profit from your pay, causing the double taxation. This does not happen with an LLC. LLCs don't pay their own taxes unless they're set up as partnerships. And for people like you and me, we don't have to worry about it. Number 5, it won't help you get a loan or tax breaks. The 5th and final reason is the biggest misconception around LLCs. Unfortunately, with people on social media and the finance TikTokers, people are being misled every single day. They're thinking that if you open up an LLC, you'll immediately qualify for a loan and you'll be able to get tax breaks. It's just not true. Businesses won't lend you money unless you can prove that there's a way for you to pay them back. Not to mention, it's really hard to get a loan if you can't prove any type of income with the business. So simply opening up an LLC is not going to get you any type of loan to start your business, and it's not going to save you any money on taxes. And no, you're not alone. I was misled by TikTok influencers too. I had to learn this the hard way. That's why I'm including it here. So if you want to get a loan to grow your business, you first need to start the business and show them that you can earn money with it. And that's what will help you borrow money to grow. Plus, you don't want to borrow money unless you have a way to pay it back. And lastly, please remember that LLCs won't change your taxes. They're not going to help you save any money, and you're not going to be able to write off anything extra. You can do all of those as a person or as a sole proprietor. So if you're considering opening an LLC just to get a loan, I wouldn't do it. I would wait until you have legitimate business idea, proven product market fit, and customers that are ready to pay you. Now that we've covered the pros and cons about LLCs, let me summarize this for you in really simple terms that'll help you make the best decision possible. If you want to sell stuff on Amazon and build a website and sell a product, just form the LLC now and get it done. By doing the work, you're going to learn so much. Not only will you learn, but you'll also be set up for success, so you can focus on making sales and growing the business, not all the legal details that inevitably end up holding everybody back. Now, if your business sales keep going up and you're noticing that more and more people want the stuff that you're making with your hobby or your side hustle, it's probably time to separate the business finances from your personal finances and separate the liability by forming an LLC. If you have a launch list built up and people are ready to give you money for your product and you just haven't gotten it out to them, then form the LLC now when it's the easiest and simplest time to do it. If you're already making more than $10,000 a year with your business, just form the LLC and get it done. It's time. If you're on the fence about things, you haven't made a sale yet, and you're still validating ideas, just wait a little bit. Don't complicate your life and spend the money before you need to. Wait until you have a product ready to launch or customers willing to give you money for it. That's when you need to form your LLC. Overall, it really comes down to how serious you are and how much energy and time you're going to put into this. If this is the only thing that you're focused on right now and you're dead set on making this a reality, then just get the LLC set up. You can always close it down if things don't work out. But better safe than sorry. But if you've got a full-time job and you've got a hobby in the background and you're only doing things here and there, then it's totally okay. You don't need to complicate your life with extra business structure. Be smart about it. Only you can answer these questions. I hope this video was helpful. And remember, when you're ready to form your LLC, go to ZenBusiness. They make the process way simpler and way easier. They store everything for you and they'll make sure you never lose your paperwork. I use ZenBusiness to form my last 2 LLCs and it took less than 20 minutes each time. Plus, now I have the peace of mind that it was done correctly and I didn't make a mistake. And to me, that's worth a lot. If you like business content like this, make sure you subscribe because I've got a lot more where this came from. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video.